Hey y'all, this is Ryan Jenkins again from the Jinx Book Club, and I have another book talk for you. The next book that I am going to talk to you about, oh my gosh, I felt like I came online and talked about this, but it might have been on Facebook. Genesis Begins Again. I hopefully will be able to meet Alicia Williams. She lives right there in Charlotte. She's from Detroit, but she lives in Charlotte and she teaches. How ironic. But I immediately, when I read the back, somebody was promoting this book. I don't know whether it was Project Lit or wherever, but I immediately, when I wrote down the book and I read the back of it, when I see books I like, I save them in my phone under what to read. And then eventually I either check that book out from the library, whether it's my public library or my school media center, and I read it. And if I like it, I purchase it because I am currently building a young adult library. And I have one at my school, and I'll admit checking out books are slow for me. But me as a future young adult author or a current young adult author, I just have to get it published. I just feel like having the greats in my library, in my house, along with adult fiction and whatnot. If you look at the cover of the book, can you guess what she's struggling with? If you guess colorism, you are correct. Now, the darker tone is her actual complexion, but during the course of this book, she struggles with wanting to be lighter because her mother is very fair skinned, light hair. She takes on the complexion of her father, and her father resents that, and it really comes out when he gets drunk. In the first chapter of the book is very sad. She finally gets her friends, and I say friends because they're not really friends of her. They make fun of her, they bully her, they take advantage of her because she is very smart, and they have her do her homework, and she trades it for getting clothes and whatnot. So they're on their way to her house, and she's very excited because she never invited anyone to her house before. She gets to the house and sees all of her family's belongings on the front lawn. For those of you who are not familiar with that, that means you're being evicted. You're being thrown out from the place. This is not uncommon to her. Sadly, father has a gambling problem and a drinking problem. As a result, he will lie and say he paid the rent. He will lie and say he paid the bills, and come to find out he hadn't paid it in months. So they end up moving back into the grandmother's place, which is the mom's mom. And grandmother's very fair skinned too. And just to fast forward a little bit in the book, there is one scene that literally I had to put the book down for a couple of days. Basically, the Genesis notices that her grandmother has a whole bunch of pictures of her side of the family that's very fair skinned, but has very few pictures of Genesis and her dad. And then it came out that Genesis' grandmother's father, her great grandfather, did a brown paper bag test on any man that approached their daughters. And one young lady, one of the her sisters, the grandmother's sisters, married the man despite the fact that he did not pass the brown bag test. And for those of you who don't know your history, especially my black people, back in the day, if your skin was lighter as the brown bag, you were considered good quality or a good person, or your complexion was acceptable. But if you were darker than that, then something was wrong with that. So as a result, what bothered me the most is she's struggling with her skin, her self-esteem, is because her dad perpetuates that. Her dad calls her ugly. Her dad tells her, I don't know why you couldn't look like your mom. You're supposed to look like your mom, not supposed to look like me. Kind of find out he's struggling with his skin complexion. They moved to this nice neighborhood, this nice house, and Genesis, the whole time, her and her mom are hesitant to accept it because what's going to be happening? Are we going to be losing this house too? She has to move to a new school, make new friends, and as a result, she tries to do things to impress people. For the longest, she's trying to lighten up her skin. She was trying lemon juice, having milk baths, all these things she read online to lighten up her skin. And I think that was the most frustrating thing because of all what her family was saying to her, it was hard for her to accept herself. It was hard for her to realize I am beautiful. And her tutor at the new school is a dark-skinned boy, very smart. And she's like, well, he's not that cute because he's dark-skinned, or he's this because he's dark-skinned. Because that's how she felt about herself. I highly recommend this book. I want to say it's about 300 pages. But at the same time, the drama just keeps unfolding a little bit by little bit. And what's so awesome about Genesis, she has a beautiful voice, but she second guesses herself because of how she looks. So that ends up being a point of contention, because she does end up finally pushing herself to China for this talent show, but all these forces come against her. Now, I don't want to give too much from the book, but I strongly recommend. As a matter of fact, I have my own copy. I'm actually Instagram friends with the author, so every time I can get to chime in and say something to her, I do. As a matter of fact, when I repost this video, I'm gonna make sure I tag her on it. But this is definitely a book that needs to be discussed, because this is an issue that we still have, especially among our young ladies who are African American, who are Black, and they have darker skin. And sometimes, like, if y'all remember with Miss South America, who won Miss Universe, she received a lot of opposition because compared to the Miss Puerto Rico, she was darker skin. Lupita Nyong'o came out with a picture book, which I'm planning on having in my collection also, that talks about just loving who you are in your skin. You are beautiful regardless of what you look like. And that's what I love about this book. But the challenge is, while reading this, is will Genesis ever understand you are beautiful the way you are? Love who you are. Love your coily hair. She was straightening her hair on purpose because, again, she was trying to look like her mom. She didn't accept her hair being natural. She always got her hair pressed, despite the fact her mom would burn her scalp in the back of her ear. She still got it done. So I greatly recommend this book. You see the title of the book, Genesis Begins Again, and this is written by Alicia D. Williams. Happy reading.